Hey there guys, John Campea here, and thank you for visiting my movie vlog. You know, one of the films that I look back on fondly, and I'm sure most of us look back on fondly, is that original film, Gremlins. However, I think some of us forget just how truly twisted that movie was. It was kind of a borderline horror film. I remember talking to one of my baby cousins during a recent trip back home and them talking about saying, oh my gosh, I just watched Gremlins again. It's like, I forgot how scary that movie is. Gremlins 2 was a completely different story. But anyway, for the last couple of years, we've been hearing a lot of talks and whispers and murmuring and some official statements, some not so official ones, talking about trying to get another Gremlins film going. Sometimes the whispers were in the form of a Gremlins reboot, and sometimes the whispers were in the form of a Gremlins 3. Well, we do know now that Warner Brothers has been trying to develop a Gremlins 3, and they even got the original screenwriter of the first Gremlins, Chris Columbus, and of course Chris Columbus is also a very established director. He's directed a couple of the Harry Potter films, he directed Home Alone, he directed Mrs. Doubtfire, and of course, most importantly to this story, he did write the original Gremlins film. Now, in an exclusive story over at my friend's website at slashfilm.com, Chris Columbus was talking a little bit about his script. He has written a draft for Gremlins 3, and he talked a little bit about it, and in it, he mentions that this thing gets back to its really dark undertones. I mean, one of the questions that he addresses directly, and look, a lot of us has thought this, look, if these monsters, these gremlins, only come about because of this one creature, Mogwai, gets wet, and then his little offspring get fed after midnight, and a lot of people die as a result, shouldn't you just kind of maybe take this Mogwai and drop him down a garbage disposal? I mean, think about it for a second. A lot of death and destruction could have been avoided if the moment that kid got Gizmo as a present, if he held him down on a little chopping block and just cleavered his little head right off. I know it's horrific, but come on, admit it, you've thought about it too. Well, Columbus says he actually addresses that sort of question, that they have to struggle with that question a little bit in the new movie, but he goes on to talk about being very dark and twisted too. This is what he had to say. I'm really proud of the script. It is as twisted and dark as anything. So we'll see. It's always a budgetary conversation when we're going to shoot it. I wanted to go back to the really twisted sensibility of the first movie. I found that was a very easy place for me to fall back into and start writing again. So hopefully we'll get to see that movie soon. Now, of course, any project in Hollywood could just stumble around and languish in development hell forever, and maybe we'll never see a Gremlins 3, but it looks like they're at least trying to get this thing moving, and they're getting some steps made in front of them to maybe getting this thing done. All I know is that hearing these comments makes me really excited. There was something so special about that original Gremlins, the fact that it was warm and adorable, yet frightening and scary and horrifying all at the same time, kind of like life, kids, and the idea that they might try to go back to that sort of sensibility is actually really quite exciting for me. And the fact that they'll struggle with questions like, well, look, all these problems is coming from this little gizmo creature. Shouldn't we just crush it under our boot or something? I'm glad they're not shying away from questions like that as well. Now, I don't know if this movie's ever going to get made. I'm going to give it a 50-50 chance. But the important thing here is, what do you think about this? Do you like what Columbus is saying about getting twisted and dark? Or would you prefer more tones like Gremlins 2? Maybe you want something a little more lighter and family friendly. Maybe you thought, hey, Gremlins 1 was great for what it was, but let's make something else for Gremlins 3. Jump into the comment section below and leave me your thoughts. Hey, listen guys, while you're here, if you enjoy my videos, consider becoming one of my Patreon supporters. In the description below, you'll see a link to my Patreon page to give you all the information you need. And while you're here, click on the subscribe button, become a subscriber to the John Campea YouTube channel. That'll do it for me, guys. Thanks a lot for joining me, and until the next video, bye-bye.